Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I came across this poem in this wonderful book by Alden Salovey, The Joyous Soul. This is called First Bird. I thought it would be a really just lovely way. Now you can hear me. I thought this poem would just be a lovely way to start Shabbat and hopefully to start your morning and our morning together. The first bird of morning sings alone, for the joy of breathing, for the glory of seeing, for the love of being, alive and awake in this world. The second bird of morning sings a duet in the gentle breeze as daybreak meets the earth with the wonder of being alive and awake in this world. Then the chorus appears. The pitch rises. Still, they make space for solos and for silence. They make space to hear. They make space to rejoice in being alive and awake in this world. So as we make our own space and joy for being alive and awake in this world this Shabbat morning, we continue with Modani. Never quite sure where that's going to pop up. So we move into Matovu. And one thing we've been doing, sorry.
Just come closer.
One thing we have been doing as a family, whether we sleep out in the yard or play out there, we set up this tent, which we have in our backyard. It's been fun. It's a little hot now, but we've had a good time.
Actually, we borrowed this tent from Randy Smith, who is now the front desk person at CRC, but we borrowed it from her when she was a beloved friend in Peoria 7 years ago.
Moved it twice.
Yes. So don't tell Randy. We need to return it. Yeah.
So anyways, we set up this tent, and I've noticed that it's really easy to go inside the tent and like zip the door and to totally miss whatever is happening around us. And so this brings us to Matovu, because we have this prophet Balaam who is supposed to go and curse the Israelites, and instead he gives them a blessing. And the question is, why does he bless them instead of curse them? And the answer that our tradition teaches is that he blesses them because their tents were open so they could see each other. Whereas it's so easy to close ourselves off, to zip up that door, and to totally miss what's happening around us. We were blessed because we didn't do that. Because we kept ourselves open, we kept our tents open, we welcomed people, and we were a part of each other's lives. And so, even though we are not physically together and our tents are not around each other, we are certainly together in spirit, leaving our doors open and welcoming each other in.
ואליך קודשך בעירותיך מה טוב אוהליך יעקב משכנותיך
So we will continue with our morning blessings with Birkot HaShachar. These are blessings that originally, they're originally part of the home liturgy. They're not a part of what we used to do in the synagogue. Instead, what they were was a way to wake up differently. To begin our day differently. There's a custom that says that we should try to say 100 blessings every day. That 100 times every day we should find an opportunity to express gratitude for the lives that we are living, no matter what those lives are, no matter how tough the moment we are in, and so many of us, even more so than normal, are in tough moments these days. And yet there is a magic to this, and there is a power to this when we stop and when we make our lives a constant expression of gratitude. So if you look at these blessings, we've sort of reordered them in CRC to have a slightly different meaning. And actually the Orthodox Siddur has reordered them also. But if you look back at the original order, they are blessings of starting our day. They are blessings when you say that my feet are on firm ground, for when you stand up. There is a blessing for wiping the sleep from your eyes and the slumber from your eyelids. There is the blessing for unfreeing the bound, which is really a blessing for your first great stretch of the day, right? There's a blessing for renewed strength, which I think of as the blessing for coffee. And it's just a different way of experiencing our lives. And if you open up a Mishkan Tefillah, the Reform Siddur that you'll find in many Reform congregations, you'll see, and I think this explains blessings better than anything else. You will see that at the end of this section, there is a blessing called Asher Yatzar. And I really believe that this is the epitome of what a bracha is in Judaism, because Asher Yatzar is the blessing that you say after you are done going to the bathroom. And I think this tells us, right, like it's funny, but I also mention it because I think it actually tells us something core about what it means to have a blessing, a bracha in Judaism, which is that it is taking the experiences of the very ordinary and it is elevating them so that they become sacred, so that we can appreciate them and experience all of the moments of our life with gratitude and with purpose. So I invite you, wherever you are, to say these blessings with me. And I apologize, they're a little small on my screen, so I'm going to kind of scoot in close. And come on over, Karen.
It's okay. They know I'm here.
She's in the part right over there. Yeah.
I'm over here.
Yeah. She'll be back in a second. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, shasani b'tzalmo. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has created me in your image. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, shasani ben chorin. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, shasani Yisrael. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, Pokeach Ivrim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, Malbish Arumim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who provides clothes for the needy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, Hanoten li'ayif koach. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who gives strength to the weak. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, asher echin mitzadei gaver. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who guides the steps of human beings.
And we continue to give gratitude and to celebrate this beautiful sunny Shabbat day with the words of Hallelujah. Oh, what do I do?
You gotta hit play. That's just the preview window.
This play?
Yep.
I'll learn someday.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. El bikocho, hallelujah, bekiauzo. Hallelujah, bigvorotav. Hallelujah, kerot kulo. Hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar. Hallelujah, benever vechinor. Hallelujah, betof umachor. Hallelujah, beminim veugav. Hallelujah, 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 b'tzitz le'shama. Hallelujah, b'tzitz le'truah. Kol הנשמה תהלליה. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, which separates our warm-up. I hope you feel warmed up and invigorated and ready to move into the Shema and its blessings. But first, we separate these two with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkada v'yikada shamei rabba, Belma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchayedecho be'Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמרה במבורך, לעלם עולם עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ויאמרו אמן.
Oops. Hold on. Got it.
really don't have to say that.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach hamevorach leolam va'ed hamevorach hamevorach leolam va'ed.
So we had family services just before this service, which was really fun, getting to be with some of our younger people, some of our little people. It was really fun to be with the kids. And Daniel actually gave this beautiful image. I was hoping maybe you'd share it with everyone about painting light. I love it. I think it's such a pretty, like I think about gold and this brush of like light that keeps going back and forth. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. Yotzer Or is kind of a radical idea, actually. First, what Karen's talking about is there's this phrase Yotzer, which is vaguely related to the term for sort of painting or making art in Hebrew. And there is this image then that's created, Yotzer Or meaning light here, that it's as if we paint with light in the universe. And certainly from a mystical perspective, from a perspective that understands that we have a purpose in this universe to be agents of change and agents of repair, there's this notion that it is us who are supposed to be painters of light.
I love that.
So the other piece, though, that I always think of with Yotzer Or, particularly this shorter Yotzer Or, not the full one, is that the rabbis make a radical change. They're actually taking this out of the Tanakh. This quote, Oseh Shalom Uvarei et Hara is the original. The one who makes peace and evil and bad and does that, right? And the rabbis changed this.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Right? Right? Hakol, everything is certainly included, or bad is included in it, and yet there is this distancing that happens. And maybe it's a message for us also, right? May we be the people who paint with light and who create from nothingness, who make peace, and who create the rest of the picture.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarech Hoshe say shalom shalom uvarech et hakol yotzer or uvarech Hoshe say shalom shalom uvarech et hakol uvarech et hakol uvarech et hakol.
So, these are the first three words of this blessing that we have. Only the first three words. There's this idea, it's come up over and over again in Jewish history, that we become too focused on the keva, too focused on the words, and we lose the kavanah, we lose the intentionality behind it. If you come to Talmud on Tuesday evenings at 5:30, we've been studying this right now, right? The borders of kavanah, of intentionality, and keva, of the actual form, what matters, the spirit or the form. But it's not just 2,000 years ago that we've been having this discussion, it's the Hasidim too. This is the Hasidic break 150 years ago, saying it's not about the form, it's about the intentionality. This is what the Reform movement says. It's not about the form, it's about the intentionality. And it's what the Jewish Renewal movement says when they say stop trying to say all of those words and focus on the words that mean something to you. So Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. It's from the blessing right before the Shema, and right after the Shema we also have an Ahava blessing. We have V'ahavta. We have this word, right? Ahava in both. We have this notion of love, but it is not romantic love that we're talking about. It is the love of obligation. It is the love of connection. It is the love of feeling obligated to each other, and it is the love of knowing that others are obligated to us. And so whereas V'ahavta after the Shema is all about our obligations to the world, Ahava Rabbah is about something that is sometimes harder, which is about opening ourselves up to the possibility of being loved. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. We are loved with a great love.
Ahava
Let that soak in for a moment before the Shema. So we take a deep breath. We let it out. The last word of the Shema is echad. It's one. And I think at a time when there's so much upheaval and there's seemingly so much separation, that the Shema reminds us that we are all one, that humanity is one, that we are so much more alike than we are different. So we cover our eyes for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Hashem Kavod Malchut Adonai.
So with V'ahavta, we talk about what it means to be people who live their values. One of the discussions we keep coming back to on Tuesdays in Talmud, I've kind of been obsessed with this idea for a while, is this notion that there is no such thing as values except for the values that we live. That we proclaim values, right? We state that these are our values. We say that, I say that I am deeply a feminist and committed to egalitarianism, and yet I don't do 50% of the housework, right? Like, this is where the rubber meets the road. And so the real answer about values is not what I say my values are, but what my values actually are that I express, what I live. And I am totally convinced that this is always the case, that there is no such thing as values that we proclaim, or I guess those are aspirational values, but the only values that we actually hold are the values that we live. And so V'ahavta I think of as a meditation on this, as a meditation on looking at that gap between the values that we describe ourselves with, the way that we wish we looked in the mirror, and the way that we actually look, and recommitting ourselves to closing that gap.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
getting into the Michamocha and thinking about who we once were and who we are now and our obligation to each other, I can't help but think about John Lewis that we lost yesterday and all the hard work he did to make our world a better place and to remind us that our fight doesn't stop, that we have to keep going.
Yeah. God, John Lewis of a blessed memory. I'm thinking of that famous image of John Lewis, right, on the bridge that needs to be renamed the John Lewis Bridge. But I keep thinking of that, right? Literally crossing over the narrow place. And that's what Mitzrayim means. This word that we translate as Egypt, it literally means the narrow place, and I keep thinking of that. But I'll tell you the other image I keep thinking of with John Lewis is John Lewis showed up at a kids comic book convention when his comic book was released. There's an incredible comic book telling the story of John Lewis. Gavi has it, and we've read it together. I really encourage people to get it. We got it at the Memphis Civil Rights Museum.
Yeah, exactly.
But Gavi loves it. But John Lewis, the year it was released, showed up at Comic Con, which I guess is a big comic book convention. And there's this idea called cosplay. I think I'm saying that right. Cosplay? No, I see Kylan. You all don't see Kylan, but I can see Kylan. She's telling me that it's cosplay. Excuse me. Where you dress up, yeah, right? Where you dress up as characters from your favorite television shows or your anime or cartoons or comic books or whatever it is, right? So John Lewis shows up at Comic-Con dressed as himself, right? Dressed as himself from that iconic picture on the bridge. And I'm going to start crying. I saw this picture today. He takes all the kids who are there and he leads them around the convention hall, holding their hands like that picture. So John Lewis of blessed memory. So, these are the real words that I feel like are the John Lewis words here, right?
Kuma.
This is maybe the most chutzpahdik part of the entire prayer service that we have. Chutzpahdik, like said with chutzpah, but American Jews, by the way, this says something about Americans and Israelis, maybe. But American Jews, when we say chutzpah, we mean like, hey, that kid's got some nerve. And when Israelis say chutzpah, they mean it like, hey, that kid's got some nerve. So there's definitely a different meaning to this word chutzpah, and I think this This prayer captures both of these ideas of chutzpahdik, right? Because it's in the command form and addressed at the Holy One. Tzur Yisrael, Rock of Israel, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael. Rise in support of Israel. It doesn't say please rise. It doesn't say won't you please rise. It's a command form. Rise now in support of us, in support of a broken world, in support of a world that is not as it should be. And so the mystics and the Reformed Jews, because we are a lot closer than you might imagine, we decided that on Sur Yisrael, when we said this word Sur Yisrael, when we got to Kuma, the third word, which means rise, when we are commanding Sur Yisrael, the Rock of Israel, when we are commanding the Holy One to rise, to make the world as it should be, that actually we ourselves are going to be the ones who rise. We are going to be the ones who rise up on Kuma, recognizing that the work that has to be done, and the work has to be done, is not going to be done by anyone else if we aren't the ones who rise up to do it. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufteichem Mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go aleinu Adonai tzvot shemo, Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai, Sifata Tifta, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sifata Tifta, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Havaya. Tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatah tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. Gonna be a living sanctuary for you. Avaya, Sifatah Tiftach, Uyafi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Havaya, Sifatah Tiftach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. So we enter into the Amidah, into the political part of our tefillah, tefillah is the Amidah, into the political part of our morning service, into the part that speaks not of the gap between us and the people we are called to become, but of the gap between the world as it is and the world as we are obliged to make it. So if you would like to stand up or rise spiritually or whatever that looks like for you, we invite you to do so. I'm going to stand up.
I guess I have to stand up. There we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Elohei Bilha, v'Elohei Zilpah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחלקי חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נכיר גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. So we take a few moments for private prayer, for quiet prayer, and we will come back together with a prayer for peace. Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Sim Shalom Tova וחסד, חן וחסד ורחמים. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה. שים שלום, טובה וברכה. So, for those who have not met her yet, Rabbi Kylan, who is a fifth-year rabbinical student at HUC, is a rabbinic intern, a virtual rabbinic intern for us at CRC this summer, and also just a beloved friend who's like a family member to me. I met Kylan my very first weekend, my very first student pulpit weekend as a brand new rabbinical student, right back from my year in Israel, flying into the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, 2007. Yeah. There was a difference between Jerusalem and Ishpeming, Michigan.
I can't imagine that.
But Ishpeming and Marquette are magical, wonderful places with magical, wonderful people. No one more so than Rabbi Kylan. I really look forward to a year from now when I really can call her Rabbi Kylan after she's ordained. But so she's going to lead us in the Torah service. And let me switch over to you, Kylan.
Yay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm super excited to take a little Torah journey with you today. And that's one of my favorite parts of the Torah service, is it's one of the ways in which we magically reenact our history. So if we were in the sanctuary, we would all stand up, we'd open the ark, we'd march around as if we were at Sinai, receiving the Torah in that moment, as we all were. And there's something primal in the reenacting and the shaking and the thundering. I would shake and thunder right now, but I probably unplug something. So just know that we're going into this side service adventure in that mindset. That at a time, we're reenacting a time when we were homeless and overwhelmed by powers stronger than we were. And now we will lovingly and fearfully read from our story. We'll be in Numbers chapter 35, verses 1 through 3, which I will attempt to chant for you. And then we'll finish it off with a nugget from the end. So here is from Maaseh, the last chapter, last parasha of the book of Numbers. Vadaber Adonai El Moshe be'arvot Moav Al Yarden Yerecho lemor Sav et bnei Yisrael V'natenu lalevi Minachalat Achuzatam Arim Lashavet Umigrash Le'arim Svivotehem Titenu Lalevim Lehayu He'arim Lahem Lashavet Umigreshehem Vihiyu Livhem Tam Velirchusham Ulchol Chayatam. So here we are. Adonai says to Moses, instruct the Israelite people to give talents to the Levites, because currently they inherit no portion of the land, and we should put them somewhere. You shall also assign to them pasture land around their towns, and those towns are going to be theirs to dwell in with all of their things and all of their cattle and everything they need to live. And these are the commandments and the regulations that Adonai enjoined upon the Israelites through Moses on the steppes of Moab at the Jordan. And I normally think of the Levites as this wealthy class that doesn't have to do what all the other ones do, and they get this special portion. But better today to think of them as a class of people who have no land, and yet who always have a place to stay and things to eat forever. Centers that end up being cities for refuge also get overlapped with the Levites' lands for anyone who is in dire straits. July 25th, the eviction moratorium ends in St. Louis, and there wasn't one for all of Missouri, and there wasn't one for all of the United States. We've already seen many who are losing their homes, and many maybe who still have a place to stay but don't have everything they need to eat. And that's when I learn and relearn from Judaism that we don't just need to feed the hungry, but we need to build systems that prevent people from going hungry in the first place. And both of these things are important, the immediate actions and the systemic actions. And just trying to reclaim my vision of the Levites. But I couldn't do this week's Torah portions. It's a double portion because we're ending the book of Numbers. So I thought we should actually end the book of Numbers. So a little bit further down in the next chapter, I'm going to chant the last line. And then if you'll join me in celebrating the end of a book of Torah this year, afterwards. Vaydaber Adonai. Nope, that's from before. I'm using paper sheets for this, some old tech. Ele hamitzvot v'hamishpatim asher tziva Adonai beyad Moshe el bnei Yisrael be'arvot Moab al Yarden Yericho. Chazak v'nit chazek. May we all be strengthened by our relationship with our text, and may it give us the strength to build a better world for all. And if you were worried that the Torah service, part of our morning service, was just Torah, have no fear, there's more. At the height of this reading of our text, at this magical reenactment, that's when we use all of the power that we have conjured here in prayer, in living our tradition, in dwelling in all of these teachings and songs and meditations. That is when we send healing out in the hopes that, having been strengthened by this moment together, our calls for healing are better heard and more effective. Because we know that there are things we don't control, even with the magical systems that we could build. And especially with COVID numbers rising in Missouri and all over the country, we're reminded right now that our health is fragile. Safety is fragile, even if we do all that we can do. So feel free to share the names of people in your life who are in need of healing with the community throughout the various chats that you're inhabiting right now. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal those who are ill. Please bless today especially Finn Naylor, friend of Deb Montfort, Art Silverblatt, Wanda Stutz-Rhine, cousin of Kathy Davenport, Debbie Dwyer, a dear friend of Sarah Keller and Howie Levicki, Meredith Pritchett, daughter of one of Kathy Davenport's high school classmates, Elaine Thornton, cousin of Kathy Davenport, Rick Hack, future father-in-law of Corinne Char, Gail Rock, friend of Leslie Kaplan, Huey Powell, specialist Evan Richards, Morris Tamsky, Carrie Schulman, brother of Deb Montfort, Caroline Harvath, a dear friend of Marcy Brodsky, Susan Schroeder, daughter-in-law of Davida Murphy Smith, Ron Fagerstrom, Colby Trotter, friend of Bree Smith, and in line with the systemic building that we're hoping to do, I'd like to add Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion of their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say together, Amen. So everything we do, be it systemic, be it small, be it prayer, be it action, we hope is a reset, a building to the better. And every day we get a reset with Modah Ani, Modet Ani, Modeh Ani. And every Shabbat we get a reset. And this Shabbat, I have the opportunity to remind us that coming soon is a monthly reset. So I'm going to declare the new month as if it needs my help. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are filled for good. Rosh Chodesh Av, Yiyeh B'Yom Revi'i, the new month of Av will begin on Wednesday. And to pre-celebrate this new month, I've been thinking about darkness and the powers that we give to darkness and creation, and how darkness and creation are inherently linked. And I was looking at poems about darkness, and I remembered I used to be a Spanish major once long ago when Rabbi Daniel met me. So I've brought you this poem from Juan Luis Obispo, St. John to some. He was this mystical monk in the 16th century, spent a long time in prison because of his radical views. So he knew much about darkness. And I have the first two lines of this poem to share with you. En una noche oscura, on a dark night, con ansias en amores inflamadas, with longings inflamed in loves. O dichosa ventura, O joyous fate, salí sin ser notada. I went forth without being observed. Estando ya mi casa sosegada, my house now being at rest. A oscuras y segura, to darkness and certain, por la secreta escala disfrazada, by disguised and secret ladder. O dichosa ventura, O joyous fate, a oscuras y encelada, to darkness and in concealment. Estando ya mi casa sosegada, my house now being at rest. We're all resting in houses right now. We're all facing darknesses. And our tradition reminds us that we start every month on its darkest point, because sometimes from the darkness we create great things. So I hope you come out of this Shabbat and this month feeling restful and ready to confront the world and make it better. Shabbat Shalom.
Kylan, thank you. I couldn't love you any more than I do. You're amazing. That was an incredible teaching. I'm going to hold on to that. So we will begin to conclude our services with the words of Aleinu. So I invite you, if you would like to, if you are so moved to stand up or to physically rise or spiritually rise or emotionally rise or whatever that looks like, as we say Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latekiru la liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kocho hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu noteh shamayim veyoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro bashamayim ima'al, ushchinatu zo begove meromim, hu Eloheinu ve'enod, emet malkeinu evesulato, kakatu V'yadatayom, v'yadatayom, v'hashivota elevovecha. Ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, v'ala aretz mitachat ein od. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
So at the very end of our service, we take a moment to remember those that are no longer with us. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. So we certainly think of John Lewis at this time. And in the past month, In the past month, our CRC, just over a month, community has lost Jan Nelson, Charlotte Futterman, Norman Roth, Kent Huffman, Sydney Feiner, Jerome Schneider, and Gary Krugman.
That's a lot of loss this month.
That's a lot of loss. And we add to those names people we're remembering for their yard site.
So if you've got someone you're thinking of and you want to add their name to the chat, right, this is, I think, one of the cruelest parts of this awful pandemic. I don't know the cruelest, but one of the cruel parts is that not only do we lose people, but we then mourn alone, right? We can't be in the community. We can't be together. I feel this presence so much every time we say Kaddish online that I just wish we could see everyone who's saying Kaddish. I wish we could see all of the faces of those who are hurting and those who are in mourning and those
who we need to put our arms around.
Yeah, so we're sending love out to everyone who's saying Kaddish, and I just hope wherever you are you can feel it.
So we remember these people for yard site: Rosalie Krojanker, Shirley Ragsdale, Annabelle Rosenblum, Julie Levy, Shirley Osheroff, David Yaffe, Dorothy Jury, Lynn Garland, Ronald Stone, Erica Vygotsky, David Martin, Samuel Rosenthal, Evelyn Holtzman, Zelda Jacobs, Melba Powell, Marvin H. Sachs, Gerald Cohen, Bernard A. Edelstein, Merle Goldstein, Irene Klein, Jane McCrae, Rose Telsner, and Ellen Wallach.
And so together with all of these names, with the names we've heard, with the names we're holding on to,
Sharon.
Oh, and it doesn't, I'm sorry, there's someone who says it's her mother's yard site, Sharon, and it doesn't show your name, so I'm not sure if it's Weinstein or Weinstein. But may your memory be of a blessing. And Bobby, for your cousin Penny, for your uncle Dave Martin, for John F. Kennedy Jr., for JFK, Annette for Jay Broden, a good friend of one of your sons, and for John Lewis, of a blessed memory. May we all try to live up to what he has done in this world. And so for all these names and the names we're holding on to, we say the words of Kaddish. chesed yibane. Olam chesed yibane. Olam chesed yibane. Olam chesed yibane. So before we say goodbye to each other,
We get Kylan on.
oh yeah,
For our
let's get
blessings?
Kylan on. Kylan, you've got to come on for the blessing too. Hold on, let me see how I do this. That might take just a second.
So we always end our service sending each other away with blessings for a restful Shabbat and a peaceful Shabbat. And we just hope that we can be together sooner rather than later.
There you go, Kylan.
Ooh.
You're here. Let's see if it says
Are we
something.
here?
It does. I'm a little worried it's echoing, but I apologize if so. I'm going to mute Kylan right now and only turn her on when it's her turn. Okay, Kylan, you're going last. You've never done this before.
No time like the present.
Exactly. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and watch over you, and especially during this crazy time, keep each and every one of us safe.
Yisa Adonai
Ya'er
Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. And in the moments of darkness, in the moments when we're awake at night and when we're scared and when we made the mistake of reading the news before we went to sleep, may we hold on to a little bit of the light and the love that we feel from each other and breathe it in those moments. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Okay, Kylan.
Always may you be able to tap into the divinity which gives you wholeness and helps you spread wholeness throughout the world.
Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.